So I got the question about how to distress a denim shirt. It is more difficult. I'm sorry, my hands, I've been painting all day. It is more difficult, more challenging, I guess, to distress a darker colored shirt as opposed to a lighter colored shirt. It's easy to stain a lighter colored shirt. It's not as easy to obviously stain a darker colored shirt, especially for theater. The lighting tends to be so extreme that either all the distressing that you do gets washed out in the bright lights, or if it's very dark and moody on stage, then it's so dark you can't really see anything. So it is a challenge. It's a challenge I like. Also, I will get something back if it's not distressed enough. They'll say it needs more distressing, and you only find that out by getting it under the lights. So I do a couple of things. Yes, I do typically start out with like just a basic acrylic paint. This is unbleached titanium. This is a bright white regular titanium. I do like a neutral gray color, and I always love burnt umber and burnt sienna. Those are good dirt colors. Even if you can't, you're like, oh, I can't see it on here. You can if you kind of rub it in, gives it that like oily, greasy look if you're looking for that sort of stain. So I just will put, this is already mostly done. I'll be right back. I need a paintbrush. I'm back. Okay, so important note, if you want to make it look like roughened up, also do your roughing up before you go into paint or anything like that. So like I've got my sanding paper on a block, and you can get into it wherever you want it roughed up, cut up. I use my scissors, use my seam ripper, rough areas up that are normal areas of wear, like around the neck, around the cuff and collar, so forth, or anywhere else, elbows on a shirt or another place where you might find wear. Just remember that when you're distressing, the number one important thing about distressing is that you still need to be able to wear the garment. You can't put so many holes in it that it ruins the structural integrity of the garment. It needs to look like it's falling apart and not actually be falling apart, just for safety, especially for theater. You need to make sure things are wearable multiple times, and they need to be able to do their movement and all sorts of stuff like that in it. Even if you're just going out for Halloween or something, you want to make sure that your garments aren't falling apart unless it's part of your costume. That's perfectly fine, okay. But you want to make sure that you can actually still wear the garment, so you don't want to make it so that it's falling apart so much and tear gigantic holes in it and so forth, that renders it actually unwearable. So again, go in with any of the using your tools to distress the garment. Then I would go in and with like lighter colors. So I already have some paint on here, and this is the shirt that's already distressed. It's hard in this lighting to see. I can tell again that it's difficult to see in this lighting that it's distressed. It's actually quite distressed. But like I would take this neutral gray, and then I just kind of dry brush it onto the placket, maybe hit the buttons. You can always build it up also, so you don't need to be so heavy-handed with it. Anywhere there's seams, I like to hit. See, so like there, I hit it with right there, with the paint, so it looks like it's got that kind of or like kind of worn, faded look that you get on your jeans or other denim products. So that's what you're going for. When it comes to dark shirts, it's how you can cause contrast on them with lightened colors to make it look like it's been worn. So keep that in mind when you are distressing your garments. The other thing that I will do on garments like this is I'll use sprayable paint. So this is actually fabric paint, and I will use spray paint on these garments too. I need to be careful and make sure that the spray paint can off-gas the smells. Even this, which is made for clothing, you actually want it to set like 24 hours, and sometimes they even want you to heat set it. So you usually want to read the instructions before you do anything. with either of these products. This is Design Master. I think they still make this stuff. This is great. I love it. Again, here's a gray. I like gray for distressing, not just straight up white. Also, make sure that you're using a combination of colors when you're distressing. Don't just be like, I've got white, it's just gonna look like you're chalky and dusty. If you want to give it that kind of variegated, like, we've got brown smudges down the front of the shirt. And we've got dusty, I've got some yellow in there. Across the yoke, I've got a variety of different paints and stuff like that. So you just want to make sure that you're going in and experimenting with a variety of colors when you are distressing, especially dark garments, because you never know what's going to show up. Actually, sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised what does show up. So the other thing that we use sometimes is called a schmear stick. We've got these. These you do need to order online, most likely. They're kind of a specialty item. I get them from Manhattan Wardrobe in New York. They send them really quickly. They're like, I don't know, I think they were like $15 a stick or something like that. But you can see here, they come in a variety of colors. I always do a swatch. I always like to swatch test stuff just to see how it's going to react. And then these colors are the ones that work best on dark fabrics. These do show up on darker fabrics, but these, if you're really going for that sun-bleached, worn seam look, the Fuller Earth and the Rotten Fuller really show up well on darker fabric. So these are called, they call them crayons. They're fabric crayons. And the nice thing about these is that they're not dirty. Here's a darker one. Okay. Also, maybe less likely to have a reaction if you tend to be allergic or have sensitive skin. It's wax. It is a crayon. It comes in two types. It has this stick, and then there's like a deodorant sort of one that rolls up. I like these because I like to take them out and use the flat side to really get larger areas on the garments. But I've got, I think this is Fuller Earth. And you just do this. Kind of see that it gets it nice and dusty. And then usually I have like a scrap of muslin or something. I'm just gonna use this paper towel. You can blend it in and smear it up and stuff like that, so you'll kind of get rid of those lines. I do want to be careful that if you're working on it, you kind of want to make sure that it's going to be flat underneath, because you will kind of trace, if you've ever done that, made like a tracing, it will trace the design of whatever's on the bottom. So if you have a bunch of folded paper, or like I've got plastic on the dress form, you might need to smooth some of those lines out when you are done putting the crayon on. The other nice thing about this is if you decide to only use something like this, is that it is theoretically washable. So if I didn't hard distress this shirt with all of like my sanding and put holes in it and stuff, because I wanted to wear my shirt again, if I used something like this on my washable cotton garment, I can wash it and dry it and it should come out. Should. Always do a test. Don't just assume it's going to work the way the manufacturer says it's going to work, but it does. When I iron the garment, I tell people these can't be ironed, they can't be washed during the run, because they do have schmear stick on them. They have undergarments that they're wearing underneath that do get washed, that are against their skins, so they're not just in these shirts all the time for the next 5 days without them getting washed, so never fear. But you can do this in like a sort of temporary way if you don't want to completely destroy your shirt. But if you got a $3 button-up from the thrift store that you're willing to tear up and stuff like that, then you can go ahead and use paint on it if you prefer to do it that way, have something more of a permanent costume. So I hope that helped. Good luck, and if you decide to create something, it'd be cool if you shared it with us.